Hello everyone, welcome back into the Take Care Man channel. My name is Todd. My goal on this channel is to equip men to take better care of themselves. So in this video, we're going to talk about when buying shaving gear can get out of control, whether it's soaps, aftershaves, razors, blades, brushes, what have you. We all joke about it, but we all know that sometimes we can go a bit too far with our purchases. So in this video, I have a conversation with my friend Dave, who shares his story of when purchasing got out of hand in his life and the results it had in his life and how he got back to a healthy place with enjoying the hobby. And I share a little bit of my own experience with that same kind of thing. So I hope you enjoy this interview. I've not yet decided where I'll open up comments on YouTube for this video because I know some of you have lots of self-control and maybe a lot of discretionary income, so you can't identify with this particular struggle we're talking about here. So if I do leave the comments open, I'll probably delete anything that tends to be derogatory, but I'll leave anything there that's going to be a fair discussion about how to help each other enjoy the hobby in a responsible and healthy way. Let me also say this was my first time trying to record an interview over Zoom, and so the video quality is a little low. And I tried to make it a side-by-side shot where you could see me and Dave at the same time, but it ended up being just one of us each time, so it's a little hard to follow. But yeah, the video quality is a little low, audio is a little low, but I think you'll get a lot out of the interview. So thanks for watching. Here it is. Okay, so Dave, thanks for agreeing to do this. So a little bit of background for the people watching this video is we are both active on a forum where we actually met. And I made the unwise mistake one day of posting about a topic that I really wanted to discuss. One, because it was an issue that I've struggled with a little bit, well, a lot, to be honest. But also I was seeing other wet shavers. And by the way, I just had the thought that we probably should change the name to legacy shaving, because wet shaving doesn't capture it. Traditional shaving doesn't capture it. But I saw other shavers with, posting on a variety of different places, forums, Facebook, different places, where everybody would kind of joke about acquisition disorder, as some people call it. I posted about this whole topic of buying shaving gear at times in an unhealthy way. So I'll just kind of start with a little bit of what I was concerned about, that I was hiding purchases from my wife. Like I was probably at first not in an intentional manner, meaning I wasn't trying to intentionally hide them. Maybe I'm in denial, but it was more like I would take my package or whatever and try to unbox it in sort of a private location or whatever, when she wasn't in the room or whatever. And also would be like on one of the shaving like store sites like Maggard's or West Coast Shaving, or my latest one I've been looking at a lot is Atlanta Barber Supplies. And I would be toying back and forth with like purchasing something, right? And I would kind of wrestle with it, like, oh, should I purchase it? And I found myself, like, when I would decide to purchase it, I would feel this sense of relief. Like it was this release that I was sort of giving in to ordering it. But I could tell it was more than just, oh, I'm excited I'm getting this product. It was almost like, for me, it had become kind of a compulsive thing where I was purchasing things. Now, that's not the case for everybody. Everybody's different sort of, reasons that they would struggle with it. But as I was saying earlier, people joke about razor acquisition disorder, aftershave acquisition disorder, soap acquisition disorder, which people call SAD. We joke about. I know one of my favorite YouTubers is a guy named Shave326, Ken. He calls himself a shaving degenerate. What I'm obviously aware of is that people have varying amounts of discretionary income. People have various different types of relationships with a significant other, or they're single or whatever, right? They have different things that sort of surround their decision to make purchases and things like that. But for me, my wife and I, trying to follow a budget. I also, like, it's something else that I noticed for myself personally, is I would go to pick out my shave of the day. Like, what am I going to shave with today? And sometimes I would have like analysis paralysis because there were so many things to choose from. I was like, what the heck am I going to shave with today? You know what I mean? Which I actually like having the variety, but there were times where I was like, I would, change my mind 3 or 4 times what I was going to shave with. When I posted on this forum about this topic, and I kind of prefaced it, I said, hey, this is, I realize this is a sensitive subject. It's going to be a buzzkill. I think, I've said that at the top or whatever. And I went a little clinical in it at the start. So I kind of talked about just different spending type of and purchasing type of disorders in the serious sense, and not so much sort of the tongue-in-cheek sense that people tend to talk about in the shaving community. I guess the best way to describe it is response was mixed. What the heck's wrong with you? Why are you bringing this stuff up? But then people also messaging me privately because they didn't want to participate in the thread, sort of offering support, saying, "Hey, this is a good topic to bring up. We need to discuss this." And the whole reason I was bringing it up, it was more to me about longevity, sustainability of a hobby I really love. I was finding myself making decisions that was taking the joy out of it for me, right? I was making decisions about purchases or what have you that was stealing the joy of the hobby. Well, I realized that hobbyists and artisans and retailers and things like that, probably might be a little fearful, and I don't want to put ideas in their heads, but fearful of this kind of conversation. To me, the idea of talking about making responsible or healthy purchases, or ever how you want to phrase it, really recognizes that, you want a customer who's in it for the long haul, right? That's, sort of a consistent customer, and not somebody who gets into a hobby and then kind of, burns out for whatever reason. I've kind of done this with some other hobbies in my life, whether it be fountain pens or pocket knives or whatever. That's kind of I kind of go in with anything, like with both feet, like when I get interested in it. This hobby has been really different for me in the sense that what shaving has done for me is it was a time in my life where I was not taking really good care of myself in a variety of ways. And I had a few experiences that helped me realize I needed to do that. And it was when I first tried shaving this way with, like an artisan soap and a DE razor, I couldn't believe how relaxing it was, how much I enjoyed the scents, how much the scents connected to me to my dad, my grandfather, smells from childhood, barbershops I went to as a kid. It was this whole world opened up for me. I really wanted to let that be sort of a thing that I could enjoy, and it be something that I did for myself. And, still now that period of time when I'm shaving, I shut the rest of the world off, and it's just kind of my me time. But it's somewhere between that and to where I ended up, it sort of morphed into, trying to find, and this is sort of the root of my issue, is kind of that fear of missing out. Any kind of variety, like I wanted to sample everything, try everything. Am I going to like this scent even more than another scent? Or am I going to like this razor even more than another razor, right? I don't know that I'm fully in touch with exactly why it got out of hand for me, but I know that I reached a point where I was like, okay, wait a minute. I got to put some boundaries on my purchases. I need to set some boundaries around my purchases. I need to be open with them. I don't want to kind of have the kind of relationship where I'm, hiding stuff. And so now I have a very specific shaving budget month to month, and I know that I spend within that amount. And, I think most people would look at a budget as a buzzkill kind of thing. But for me now, I enjoy my purchases way more because they're sort of in the open, right? And I feel like they're much more planned and intentional and responsible and healthy, that kind of thing. But anyway, I just knew this kind of conversation would be helpful to other guys. I knew I couldn't be alone. And, you reached out to me and basically said, hey, this is an important conversation. I wish, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but almost like I wish we had on shaving forums or, Facebook groups or whatever, that there was more open discussion or an area to discuss this, because there's an area for everything else. So why can't we discuss, healthy and responsible enjoyment of the hobby? So anyway, you reached out to me and told me your story, which was very encouraging to me and mostly your encouragement to say, hey, this is something that needs to be talked about openly within the community. That's why I wanted to talk to you and just give you an opportunity sort of to share your story, and also just tips of how you enjoy it now, or how you were able to put boundaries on your purchases. So I'll stop yapping and let you share with us your story.
I spent 35 years of just using Barbasol and just razor that you buy at the store. And some days I wouldn't even shave. And then I think it all started, we moved to a new house, and it was kind of weird. We both had our own little sink, had more room in the bathroom, had my own little medicine cabinet. And I don't know actually where I started. Just I'm not sure if I bought a Harry's razor. They did advertising, and it's got to more. I kind of went into it, and I got a couple things, and it's different. It's nice. It's relaxing, like you said. Something I still do enjoy in the morning doing. It's just a different, different thing to do. So I got into it and didn't really know anything about it. I knew there were different companies. I would order stuff from a company. I didn't even know there was a Maggard's. I would order from Fine. I would order from B&M. I would order just from them and pay shipping and just bought stuff. And I liked it, but I didn't know where really to stop. And then eventually I started to realize and talk to other people that, hey, get samples, go to Maggard's if you want to shop, look for sales, look for stuff like that. Well, by the time I learned all that stuff, I'd probably spent over $1,000, speaking money. And to me, to us, and something that's a lot of money.
Right.
We're not rich. I mean, there's some different people have different money to spend.
Right. Right.
I can't speak for somebody that makes 500,000 a year or $50,000 a year,
Right.
But in my case, $1,000 was alarming to my wife. It was probably more than 1,000. She probably has the exact number. I don't know, but and I agreed. I started looking, and she told me to stop, and I told her I would, and then it gets to a point where, well, there's a lot of advertising out there. There's a lot of, you still go on the forums and you read stuff,
Right.
and the people selling stuff are very nice. I mean,
Yes.
they're nice people. They'll take care of your customer service. If you have a question, they're understanding and this and that. But they're there to make, that's maybe their career. I mean,
Yeah. Right.
maybe
That's how
it's
they
a
feed their
big
families.
time job, but that's what their job to do. And you get tied in looking at different stuff, and you want this, and they put a new release out, and they do this and that. And so I started to think of a different way to maybe that she wouldn't know about it.
Mhm.
So I had a friend at work that, we're buddies, and, he would order stuff and get it to his house and give it to me. And I would find ways to get money without her knowing. And not thinking that she would ever find out. I actually even put a message on B&B saying, well, hey, look what I did. This is how I get over with my wife and this and that. And I thought I was a big hot shot telling people, haha. And to my alarm, I had 90% of the guys said, don't do that. They said, don't do that. And, I didn't listen to them. I wish I should have right there.
Right. Right.
They said, don't, you have to be honest. And, whatever you do, sounds fun and everything, but, don't do that. And I didn't listen to him. I wish to this day I would have. So she eventually, wives are smart. She found out. And, and then after that, she lost a lot of trust.
Right.
And so, we had to see a counselor. It was just a sad thing to think about, that you could lose your marriage off something like that.
Right. Over shaving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, the counselor talked to us, and, I was wrong. But my wife, being the wife she is, she understood. But we set a budget. And that's what we should have done earlier. That's the best advice I could tell people when they first start out, is set a budget. And, learn from other guys too.
Right.
Ask some questions.
Right.
Because you have some really nice people out there. There is some smart asses out there that, that think, but, ask some questions, and anytime I can see anybody, I'll try to advise them, set a budget, and do that. And, also too, which I found recently, because we've been kind of watching, my budget's been kind of taken away. The resale value and all this stuff is really good too.
Yep.
So a lot of times I'll sell stuff, and rebuy stuff, and that gives me a way of not spending any money, in that way.
Right.
And I'll try different stuff.
Right.
And there's certain things, you don't make any money off of it at all.
Right.
But the thing is, I got so much that I could build off of that. I'm not going to lose, I'm not going to spend more money. So I still would like to have like a small budget every month. And right now she was off work for a while and she's going back to work. And, that's just something to talk about later in the future. But
Right.
I still feel guilty sometimes with all the stuff I bought,
Right.
of getting stuff. And she always will have the upper hand on what I first did. I'm not sure if that'll ever be done with, just because I mistrust her and I bought a lot of stuff at the beginning. I would like that to be, I think she is forgiving me. She's forgiven me, but still in the back of her mind, I know she probably still, doesn't brings a bad seed to her, but that's that's basically what my path was. But I like you, I enjoy getting up in the morning and just relaxing. And, I go to work, I get up at 4 in the morning every morning, and I go to work and I spend 20 minutes just whatever, just shaving and relaxing. I enjoy it. I look forward to it. I had like a kidney surgery. And I tell people there's two things that really helped me during, the time up into it and everything. The number one by way far was my wife, helping me. It was like she was all up here, but down here, just shaving every day kind of set my mind to the point where, hey, this takes my mind off everything. Everything turned out okay. But those two things I'll remember. Obviously, it's like I said, I can't say how much my wife helped compared to shaving, but it was, those two things are things I'll remember. So, but,
Yeah, yeah. I think I find that it's almost like a form of meditation. I'm not someone who's done much meditation, so not exactly sure it's that similar, but that's kind of like what it is for me. Is it's at least a moment to quiet my mind and just kind of get grounded. It's really weird. I dare call it sort of almost a spiritual experience, but it's definitely a sort of a grounding, clear your head kind of experience. And I just knew I wanted more of that, in some way. And thankfully, I feel like now that I'm a really healthy place and I enjoy it more than I even did when I first started. But yeah, I think, like you said, finding out about samples is huge. That's one of the reasons I love companies like Sterling. Like they've got, really nice size samples. There's some artisans still that don't, do samples. And one of the things I try to limit, and I'm pretty successful with this, but maybe once or twice a year at this point, I still slip up and violate this rule, but I try not to do any blind buys. I try not to buy anything. And by blind buy, I mean nothing I haven't put my nose on in terms of a scent for like software, whether it be aftershave or soap. I try to make sure I can smell a sample. And, and part of what I said, and you touched on this, part of what I said in that post is I wish I had somebody show me the ropes early on in terms of how to enter this hobby in a healthier, responsible way. And like you said, like there were guys on the forum on B&B who were like, hey, like slow your roll. Like, what are you doing? That's not cool. Don't do that. And the other thing I find is that people are willing to send you samples like for free. And in the forum we're in now, there's, there was a big, I don't know if I can't remember if you were part of this or not, but they've probably done many through the years, but the big soap sample pass around, like
that to me was, I remember getting that. And actually what I did is somebody said it was a great idea. I bought one of those dollar pill boxes.
Right.
And I took some samples and labeled them, put them in there. And I still to this day have some, and I refer to stuff. There's 2 or 3 things that I bought that so I love this scent, and I refer back to that. But that was tremendous. I mean, that was phenomenal. And I guess the guy put it all together in one little tub and just made them, yeah, that was tremendous. That was worth the $15 I spent to
Oh yeah, for
mail
the
it back out.
postage. Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I mean that was worth it. But
I mean there was easily 80, 75, 80 samples, I would say, in that box, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I don't want to
I don't think
say
it's
exactly.
200, but
Yeah, it probably
it's the
so. You're
same
probably
box.
right. I didn't want to oversell it, but it was amazing. Now I got to tell you, when it arrived, well, first of all, I was like a kid on Christmas morning. I was excited that it arrived, and I couldn't wait to, like, put my nose on all of them. But there was also a little thing in me anxious that I was gonna like fall in love with like 10 of them. You know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, I've got to have a full puck of this or whatever. You know what I mean? And but thankfully there was only like two that really like grabbed me. But not having to spend, like you said, only like spending $15 to experience that amount of samples, where if you'd ordered that amount of samples from like Maggers or something, I mean, gosh, three, four, $500 or something easily, you know what I mean? And
It was
yeah, so it's that. So I would recommend, anybody get into a shaving forum or a Facebook group or somewhere where they've considered doing a soap sample pass around, and just to let people know that don't know how that works. What basically we had one guy on the forum who started it, kind of had people send him various samples. Some people kind of put in requests for samples, and what that person did is put it all into like a medium flat rate priority box, which the postage was like $15. And so really the only amount of money you're in is like, is the postage to send it on to the next guy. And so there was a sign up list on the forum where, it started the first person and it go to the next person, et cetera, et cetera. And people would add samples to it. Like I know I added samples, and I was kind of pushing the medium rate box capacity when I send it off the next time, but it was just such a cool experience, not just getting to experience all those soaps, but to feel like, oh man, this is community. Like, these other guys are wanting, me to enjoy the hobby as much as they do, that kind of thing. And I've just, like you said, there's jerks and smart asses everywhere, and everything. And certainly, in this community as well. But the majority of people that I've run into, want you to enjoy the hobby, want to share knowledge that they've learned, I mean, I recently bought my first straight razor. I have a scar to prove it over here somewhere. I've got to post that video soon. But but I'm not really sure that it's as sharp as it needs to be. It needs to be on. And so somebody on the forum was like, "Hey, you should reach out to so and so." And so I did. And I was like, "Hey, should I just include, like, on the return postage, you just include that in the cost of the hone?" He's like, "Oh no, look, I'm not charging you to hone those two razors. I'm just honing them because I want to." I'm like, that's one of the really cool things about this community. So yeah, along with the budgeting and the samples and like soap sample pass arounds, and kind of like you said, what I've done is I've said, okay, I've got X amount of soaps. If my rule now is, if a whole puck can't come in the house, or a whole tub or whatever can't come in the house until one is finished or leaves, or I sell it, right? Sell it off. And you're right. Stuff holds its resale value, really well. Yeah, and there's great places out there to sell it. And, you can do that with pretty much everything: razors, aftershaves, soap, all that. And I've got a stack of stuff over here that but people call it den cleanings. At least that's what I've seen people call it. I've got a den cleaning pile over here that I've got to, get posted up on some of the places to sell. And you can sell. There's Facebook groups for that. Most of the forums have a section of their forum areas that are designated to resell. And also piffing, like if you just want to give it, and sometimes swapping with people.
Well, yeah, so I trade a lot too, just
Yeah,
because, but yeah, and a lot of times I notice this too. I mean, you could get yourself a sample yourself from what you sell,
that's right.
and then you could have that for three,
Oh
four,
yeah,
five usages, and so what you're doing there is just, you know, you're buying yourself probably $5 worth of samples for yourself because you're not
right.
going to make much, but you can rotate it a little bit more and stuff
That's
like
right.
that. So,
Yeah,
but
I've got, to be honest, I've got samples I've yet to use. Do you know what I mean? Like I have a drawer of samples
yeah,
that,
oh yeah, it's just
yeah,
kind of like sometimes you go down there, I have some in my basement, and you just kind of look around and
right.
maybe you'll open a few up and smell them and say, hey, I want to use this one day. So,
Yeah.
but I kind of, I, I get a little antsy whenever I maybe kind of look at stuff to use, and I don't know what to use. I came up with
Right.
a little card, like a little card system where I basically I have there's 4 days every month, Monday through, so I designate one of those days for a set or whatever I have.
Right.
So I'll kind of rotate that. I'll have a theme for each day, maybe of the month,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's always like the 29th or 30th or 31st. On those days, I'll use like samples those days, and maybe on Sundays I'll use samples. So kind of, I hate to, so I just grab my little card out. My wife thinks I'm kind of weird doing it. She's probably right, but I'll grab that card out. And tomorrow is let's see, what is Friday? The third Friday of the month. So I'll look at my little card, third Friday of the month, and I think I got like a B&M or Keek or something like that I'm going to use or something.
That's
So I know
I
I'm going
think
to
that's an
use.
awesome idea. I think that's cool.
So I got, so that to me can just scratch my head. So what am I going to use? So, you know, and that way I could, yeah, hey, sometimes it's so weird. I have A and B, and then I'll have every month,
Right.
January's A, February's B.
Right. Right. Right.
But,
Yeah.
it's just, to me, that's just the way I am. I
Yeah,
maybe
well, I think it makes it
OCD
fun.
in that way.
It's kind of a game in some ways, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of gamifying it a little bit to do that. I think that's cool. Yeah, a lot of people will do theme, well, even the forum that you and I are active in, there's often theme months where people will, point out certain artisans or whatever, or certain kind of scent profiles or whatever to use. And yeah, something I started doing, so I first got into wet shaving kind of through men's fragrances, was kind of part of my entry into it. And of course, in the fragrance world, they definitely talk about seasonal scents, things like that. And so, what I do now, and I'm not exclusively this way, I'll still, switch it up in the middle of winter or whatever, but I tend to have an active den and a hibernating den. So I have like my spring, summer stuff out, and then like fall and winter will be in another storage area. And so the active den, like that's actually in my bathroom that I can reach around to my closet and open, is the stuff that's either spring, summer, or fall, winter. And I've switched over to fall, winter now, obviously. But that helps limit my scope of selections generally. Because I like using the seasonal scents. I don't mind using one from another time or whatever. It's not, a very stringent thing or whatever.
And then there's also another local friend that lives in the area. I'm not sure what shaver friends that you have that you're close to or anything, but we'll get together and we'll trade samples sometimes. Um, and he has a couple like brushes. See, I'm not really into hardware much. I'm afraid I'd spend too much money.
Right.
I mean, they had like a razor pass around, um, and I did that. I had like there was like 8, 10 different razors, and I fell in love with this one razor. It was one of the expensive one. It was actually the cheapest one there. It was a Schick Kona razor, and I put how much I loved it, and this guy on the forum sent me one. He was just so nice. So I use that razor all the time. That's the only razor I use. And then a friend lives local here. I told him I need to get like a easier brush to use. So he's let me borrow a couple brushes. They're synthetic. I mean, I wouldn't expect him to give me a real brush. I mean, maybe they're $20 brushes.
Right.
Um, he said, pick what you like and keep the one you like. And it's just, people are nice like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I give him I think I gave him a couple tubs of soap and, so, I want to be just as nice back to him.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's one of the beautiful things about the community is that, and I've, there's a guy on YouTube who had started making videos, but I could tell his den was pretty small, but you could tell he was wanting to expand a little bit. And I filled up like one of those medium rate boxes of samples and razor blades and a brush and a couple of hole pucks that I had, duplicates of or whatever, like little cheaper ones. And, sent them off to him, and the guy was, you could tell he was moved by, that. And
Yeah.
but people have done the same thing for me. It's just definitely a pay it forward kind of thing.
Yeah, I need to get a little bit more to give stuff free. I guess in my mind, I kind of, I just, the budget and everything to me is like,
Right.
oh, dang it, no, I don't
Yeah.
But I should, because a lot of times if you do some good things, it comes back at you too.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah. And I was talking about the fragrance world, and I've seen them they talk about splits all the time, doing splits. And so like, there's guys that, and fragrances that will buy a whole bottle of fragrance and then basically
Yeah.
sell samples. Yeah. And they'll end up paying for the bottle by just doing the samples, selling cheaper samples. But also people will go in together and, buy like a bottle and split it up among themselves or whatever.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, and so I'd recommend anybody, look for a good forum or good Facebook group to join, but just ask, but people are more than willing. And there are hardware snobs and software snobs. Man, there's some people out there that think that they got to have certain, and I mean, I have stuff I like, but I don't ever question anybody else's. Like, it's so much individual experience, and well, I don't want this whole thing. We're kind of getting to, I don't want to keep you too long, but we've talked about a pretty heavy and serious subject, but also enjoying it. But I thought we'd end up just talking about some of it. And you mentioned you're mostly sort of a soap and aftershave and guy, not so much a hardware guy. So what if you had to name 3, 4, 5 soaps, whether it be scents or a particular base or whatever, what's the 4 or 5, whatever, how many you want to talk about, soaps or aftershaves or both, that you just want to always have in your den?
There's a lot of good companies out there. I mean, I would say hands down the best soap as far as that I've experienced is the grooming department. As far as their soap, just the after feel is it's just a great soap. I don't care. Obviously, I have there's more expensive ones too out there that I probably can't have. Not counting anything. I'm talking about soaps that's under $30 a tub.
Right.
Phoenix, PAA, they have a great selection.
Yep.
I mean, their stuff is strong. I'm not sure it kind of fills all the voids. I mean, they're never really out of anything. They don't really give you discounts, but they have a solid product that they're always there.
And you can sample the fragrances for 99 cents each.
Yes,
I mean, you can't. Nobody's got that cheap of an level of entry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You can get 2 uses out of that because
totally.
I've done that. And even their, I do like Sterling, but I mean, theirs is good too. He's a good cup guy. Sterling, and they always give you a free. They always give you a free sample, which is a nice touch when you order something. They have a loyalty program, so does PAA. Those 3, basically PAA and Sterling directly, I would order from them. I used to, I met Sean from the guy, I can't never pronounce Shalia Lux.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in Tennessee. I say Chatillion Lux, which I know is completely wrong, but
I met him at we had a meetup in Louisville, which was great. I mean, that's something I recommend.
Yeah.
If guys are in a 200-mile radius, to get a bunch of guys together, pick a city, and let's all meet. That was a tremendous day. And Sean was there, and Heather from
Zingari. Zingari,
she
man.
was there. She's a very nice lady. Her husband are so nice. His stuff, I don't think he's making it. I think Decoration Grooming is making it now. But I love his stuff.
I do too. His scents are daring. His scents are so daring. Like, I love. They're not. You know what I mean? They're not. They're not your usual. Fare of scents. They're very different. And bold. Or I find they are.
yeah. I sat there and talked to him, and I was shaking my head. He said, you know, I go, man, everybody loves your stuff. He goes, yeah, but I don't sell as much as you would think.
Right.
And he goes, I just cannot make it, have another job and doing this. Um, I said, man, I go, I can't, it's hard for me to believe that. He actually
Yeah.
got mad at me, because I was like saying, I can't believe it, because everybody loves your stuff is sold out and everything.
Right. Right.
Because, well, certain things sell, but some things I don't. And I apologized to him because I was like, I might have had a couple beers too and stuff, but
Right. 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 Right.
it was like, and then, he said, oh, he's a super nice guy. And
Yeah.
I still talk so nice about him. And, um, you know, but yeah, that's a company. And they're, I don't know. I can't, there's so many out there.
Yeah, there he is. Yeah, I don't know if you've listened to any or watched any of the episodes of the Razor Burn podcast. I think they've actually now stopped it, but it's with Heather from Zingari, and then Jack, I believe it is, who owns Carve Razors, I think. But his YouTube channel is the Virtual Groom Room, I think is what it's called. Anyway, they I'm pretty sure it was their podcast. It might have been Lather Talk. I'm forgetting which one now. But anyway, they had Sean on one episode of that. And it sounds like he's now trying to do that full time because he's opened up another segment of his business that's not just Chatillon Lux, but also like a different perfume house name. Yeah. And so, but yeah, I would find it shocking too that he doesn't sell that much stuff. But, and speaking of Declaration, like I love their base like a lot, and Holy Cow, those two for me are sort of my top performers.
Yeah, that's another one too. He's a really nice guy too.
Yeah, he is. My frustration with like grooming department. This is the only grooming department one I have. And it's so generic. It's just called soap. It's unscented. But it's almost sounds, smells like clothes detergent a little bit, but in a good way.
I heard
that makes
people
sense.
say about that.
Yeah.
I just, he's not the best customer. I mean, he's a nice guy, that Mo guy, but he takes his time making stuff.
Well, and that's the thing is there's, and they're limited releases, and they. Well, you mentioned earlier, like you're not going to make any money, reselling your stuff. I just recently found out there's people who apparently just their whole approach is they wait on these drops to happen and they buy multiple pucks of these new releases and then sell them at a markup. And I was like, that's so crazy. Like that's and you will never catch me buying anybody's marked up soap, I guarantee you. And it's just been shocking to me too, like how much some stuff's I kept seeing these videos of people using some of the sebum stuff, like sebum gold, green or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I went and looked at the price of it and I was like, oh my gosh.
A lot of it's hype. A lot of it's hype. A lot of it's, people talk about it. And a lot of it's good stuff,
Yeah.
And it's just, I mean, they're just, if I sell stuff, I guess sometimes you just kind of like the point where, if you sell something for $50, you got $50 to buy other stuff with.
Right. Exactly. You mentioned so you mentioned Phoenix. So among the PAA soaps you have, like one or two that you just love and will always have.
Oh yeah. The Bay Rum is really good.
Oh yeah. The Atomic Age Bay Rum.
The Atomic Bay Rum. That has like a unique scent. Actually, I actually bought one of the little jugs.
The little
kind of really neat little thing.
Yeah.
Probably lasts me my grandchildren's life or something.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
It's just kind of neat to have.
That's really cool.
I like that scent. Some guy, they have two different brands. I mean, I go for the cheaper version of the soap.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure it's a little better, but I don't know. A&E makes good soap. The guy, he makes really good soap. But have
you ever tried Douglas's Boomtown Bay Rum? It's got the like a.
No, I might get the little sample. That's like I said. I
I need to send you a sample. I'll send you a sample of the soap and the splash for you to try out. It's like basically atomic age bay rum, but with like a gunpowder, kind of and leather note to it. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool. Yeah.
You can't go wrong. Like I said, with them, you don't have to worry about them running out of stuff. You
Right.
don't have to worry about them. Um, you know, they'll add a lot. They're aggressive. They'll
Oh
put
yeah.
stuff on there.
Yeah.
You just gotta. But I don't know. I guess the best advice I would tell people as far as buying stuff, if you want to save money and wait, just wait for Black Friday.
Right.
You
Right.
want to buy stuff once a year,
Right.
save all your money, and buy your stuff whenever they start selling that week. And you get free shipping, you get free discounts, you get you get free samples, you get anything. Not anything, but you get good prices, hands down, that time of the year. Um, I would love to do that, but I would be so tempted to buy stuff before
Right.
that.
Yeah. Before then. Yeah. Yeah. I was waiting on Black Friday this year for Sterling was going to re-release the British leather, but they actually came out with it earlier. Um, it reminds me of the way English leather used to smell, like actually, the vintage English leather. It's so good. It's good stuff. And it was a seasonal for a while, but anyway, it went away for about a year and a half. And I reached out to Rod. I was like, hey, when's this? And he said, we'll probably release it Black Friday, but lo and behold, it came out either in August or September. And so, yeah, I bought a couple of bottles of it, but yeah, I like, the other thing about like Douglas and Rod and Mandy and several others, it's too many to name, but most of them, you reach out to them on social media or whatever. If you have a question, they will answer it in a heartbeat. Like they're, just super nice
Guy from
folks.
a guy from Will from Barrister
Barrister
Man.
Man. Yeah.
I told him I was questioning because we're going to Cooperstown. We were going to go this year.
Uh-huh.
We're going next year on our way to Maine. And I said, well, where do you sell them around Cooperstown? He goes, well, because I know he's around that area.
Right.
No, we don't sell it at retail. He goes, but I'll meet you at a bar and have a beer with you. I thought, man, that's super nice of that
Yeah.
guy to even
Yeah.
think of that.
Yeah.
And just type of guys they are. And if you ever have a meetup, you could probably find a few people to come meet, and they'll give you samples that
Yep.
Heather, Sean, and even Maggarts gave us a gift card there, and then you have a little, do you ever go to the Maggarts meetup?
No, but it's on my to-do list for 2021. I hope to make it up there. In fact, so one group, a local group, was semi-local. It's kind of a big area, but I'm in the Dirty South Shavers group, which kind of covers the Southeast. And I went to my first meetup. It's the only one I've been to because I've only been doing it for a couple of years. But in Memphis last year, and just enjoyed it. Like Rod and Mandy brought a soap specifically for the meetup that they gave everybody for free that showed up there, and I didn't realize there were I had no idea like there were door prizes. Like I came home with like 3 tubs of soap I didn't even spend money on and stuff. So yeah, I recommend anybody to do a meetup if they can. Yeah, definitely.
There's a Reddit group that the guy in Louisville lived there, and he had something, and that was just a tremendous day. It was just so nice. And we
Yeah,
went to a brewery or a distillery or something downtown.
yeah,
There wasn't a lot of us. There was maybe 10 guys, but you talk to people, and you kind of like me and you were talking.
right.
Just stuff you talk about, because you don't talk to everybody at work and say, hey, what
Right.
shave soap do you
Exactly.
have?
Right.
Like, what did you use this morning?
Right.
And they said, I don't think I even shaved.
Yeah.
But me and my friend Jim, we'll sit down, but we'll meet in the car in the parking lot, and we'll have our windows down, and we'll sit there and talk about 15, 20 minutes about this and that. And we plan on driving up to both of us to Michigan, next year. And he's a nice guy. And, you also talk about how's they're going, how's their job and everything like that
Right.
too. And it's, just something different to talk to about people too, just
Yeah.
like me and you talking. And,
Exactly. Yep.
just we'll have different people do things you learn from, and people, you know, do the same thing you do.
Right.
And but like I said, just like I said, I wish if I when I first started this, I wish I would have known a little bit more. But
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's my whole purpose in wanting to do this is, to help people when they go in, if they can have those parameters up front, and kind of know, hey, when can I tell it it's getting out of hand, or how can I, limit it in a good way to start with? I think it just means that, you'll end up enjoying the hobby more in the long run. You'll, do not have anything to take the joy out of it. You'll be able to enjoy it, the full time and stuff. So, but well, that's my plan too, is to head up to Maggard's in 2021. I hope to make it there, so
hey,
maybe we'll get to
yeah,
meet face to face. I love that we've had a chance to at least do it virtually, face to face. I've enjoyed talking with you on the forums and messaging back and forth. And again, I appreciate you doing this. It's look, it takes a lot of courage, to
no,
share a story. I know it's a hard
it's a little,
story to share, but I really appreciate you doing it.
yeah, it gets a little. I mean, it did even when I was talking to you. You get a little choked up at what you did,
Sure.
and because you don't want to ever do that again,
Right.
and as long as you don't, you learn from your mistakes, and luckily people forgive you. And
Right.
just I would never want. There was a guy on that was on B&B and the shaving where we're at now. Um, that he said he even brought up the point. He said, "Yeah, I remember on B&B actually my wife actually wrote a post on B&B,
Mm-hmm.
and I sent him a personal message. I said, yeah, that's me." He
Right.
felt really bad. He goes, I go, no, don't feel bad at all. I go, that was all my fault. My wife had every right to do that.
Right. Right.
And he kind of, at first he felt bad, then he was, fine. Um, but that, if anybody brings that up, because
Yeah. Yeah.
but,
Yeah, and I'll just add that, as we close too, that I kind of, the forum that you and I are members of, I actually went back and apologized to the owners because I didn't have good perspective on how much artisans and hobbyists, help out that forum, help it exist, and I could have done it in a way that was a little more respectful. So I have no regrets in raising the issue, but I wish I'd had a little more perspective when I raised it. But I'm really thankful for guys like you that, reached out and said, hey, this is important. Please continue to talk about this, make sure that we, make this something that we put out there, because yeah, again, that's my motivation is I want people new to it, or people that have even been doing it for a while that maybe it hasn't got out of hand for them, or it has, or whatever, but just, sort of both a cautionary tale, but also tips for how to enjoy it. And that, like I said, this, I think there's there's other people out there that have done it around other hobbies, but I thought that we needed to get together and talk about this. So I really do appreciate it.
sure.
Appreciate you doing this. Um, and also just, thank your wife for me, for her being willing for you to share, your story. And I think that, a lot of people will benefit from your guys' courage to be able to share this story, and people learn from your experience. So I appreciate it. So thanks for watching that interview with Dave. And Dave, I really appreciate it. And as always, guys, take care, man.